All right. Hi, everyone. So I guess we are here to
Hello.
answer many questions which people had, and of course, I'm always answering those in the chat under hiding behind the name of the chat. But it's always good um, to have someone speaking and answering.
That's correct. So yeah, we're here, of course, with Michael, founder of Curve and YieldBasis, and myself, Llama intern, as some might know me. But yeah, so there were indeed several questions that people had, especially liquidity providers of YieldBasis that had like some questions that essentially took place over the last couple of weeks. As essentially, YieldBasis has been live already for now 2 months already. So before we dive into any like specific topics, I wanted to ask you as well, like Michael, if you could by chance share any of like your overall impressions of how the protocol is performing and if essentially everything is working as intended. I think that's like the most important thing.
Yes, yeah. So I indeed observed over these 2 months, and yeah. So indeed, right now I think protocol is working as intended. Uh, Originally, we had version 1 of the pools, and we had uh, this issue in that too many fees went to admin fees and to unstaked users, but mostly to admin fees. And I found a way how to make it much better, and that's what we are live with at the moment. And now it works pretty much like what I think it should work. And we've got pretty interesting discoveries on the way about quality of different wrappers in terms of arbitrage. For us, what matters is how quickly those Bitcoin wrappers can be arbitraged. That's like most important thing for the protocol, apparently. But yeah, it's working as intended. Maybe I thought that one wrappers would work better than others, and my guesses were wrong. Different wrapper about picking the wrappers. Some wrappers which I thought would work worse, work better, and the other way around as well. So, but that's interesting. Not from the protocol side, it's very good. Some wrappers even outperform my expectations.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have already seen is that out of the three BTC wrappers that we are supporting at YieldBasis, that essentially CBBTC has essentially been performing significantly better compared to both TBTC and WBTC. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that like for a lot of users as well, they are actually wondering why is that essentially the case, specifically for CBBTC, right? Because at the moment, right, when we saw essentially prices of BTC going down significantly and volatility spiking up, we saw that essentially the price of, oh, Michael? Oh, wow. Let's see what's happening.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Um,
Okay, Michael. Yeah, you're back.
I dropped for a second. Yeah. 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 So it appears that out of all wrappers, I originally thought that maybe WBTC is the oldest, most trusted wrapper, so probably it will have the best liquidity ever. Well, I mean, it does have good liquidity, but apparently what matters is how close the wrapper goes to real Bitcoin. And when volatility is high, especially, it appears that WBTC kind of lags a little bit behind the real Bitcoin. And that affects performance of the pools. Pools earn a little bit less. While CBBTC apparently is redeemable one-to-one without any fee on Coinbase, and arbitrage traders use that fact, and pool actually receives quite a bit more volume and fees. And when pool receives more volume and fees, it moves concentrated liquidity kind of faster with it, right? And when it does so, it has liquidity more concentrated than others. And also the spread kind of changes all the time. So you actually have effective average spread smaller than twice the fee, and which is not the case when the pool liquidity is not moving around too much. So it appears that CBBTC gets significantly more volume and picked up significantly more often for non-arbitrage trades, like liquidations, for example. And I mean, it gets more arbitrage, more fees from that, and also it gets more natural flow, and it earns even more and pegs even better and actually outperforms my simulations. But well, with other pools, it's kind of the opposite with WBTC and TBTC. Well, apparently TBTC has some redemption fee. I don't remember what it is, like maybe 10, maybe 20 bips, something like that. And WBTC also has, well, some redemption.
It depends. Yeah, it depends a little bit like with each merchant, essentially.
Yeah,
but it is between like 20, 40 bits.
Yeah, WBTC has this concept of merchants indeed, and they kind of keep reserves of WBTC, and they well, I don't know, mint and redeem and market make WBTC themselves. But they want to earn, so they keep spreads which are not necessarily very small. And what happens if they are out of WBTC reserves? Then they need to do it all over again. So it's and there are not too many of them, not too much competition between them. So essentially, WBTC gets I don't know, plus 10 bips to the spread, I guess. And the same kind of applies to TBTC, and that little bit apparently affects things a lot. So they are performing worse. So, and that's why CBBTC, I would say that it got, when it disbalances, it rebalances again, well, relatively fast. And even when Bitcoin price dropped quickly, even then, CBBTC rebalanced like in a day or something. But TBTC and WBTC still did not, well, just started rebalancing, right? So just now. But it can take like weeks after such a drop if they perform like this. So, well, then I thought, what to do with that? Because we can, well, we can relax parameters a little bit so that if concentration is not that high, then maybe WBTC and TBTC will rebalance faster. And this can be simulated and predicted. But the problem is, if we do that, then earnings of these pools go down. And, well, then these pools underperform compared to CBBTC, and then they will be less attractive, and that's not good. So I thought, well, is there anything better we can do? So I tried to contact both issuers, Threshold for TBTC and WBTC as well. And apparently they did notice that, well, maybe not necessarily with YieldBasis, but they did notice competition with CBBTC. And they, I think, independently came to the same conclusion that they need to do something to reduce mint and redeem fees and kind of be a little bit more open to who can mint and redeem. And I think some good changes are expected for both. So I think, I think it's the best if the wrappers improve, and they are about to do that. And I just needed to confirm that. Otherwise, we would have needed to make the pools a little bit more conservative, and which is not nice for pools making money, of course. But anyway, looks like I don't know if it's presence of YieldBasis or maybe it's just the presence of competition on the market. But this the wrappers will improve, and Ethereum will be good for Bitcoin.
I think that's like super interesting as well. That like the fact that after we essentially launched as well, that we put up this type of stuff as well, like a case study, right, to them, like, okay, hey, this could be essentially improved, right, for them as well, and maybe that pushed it essentially in the right direction.
Right.
But yeah, one of the things as well, right, that essentially all of these LPs as well have noticed is that we also recently published a new analytics page with both essentially some some new types of data. One of them is the fundamental value and the redemption value. We've had like some users as well, essentially asking us about what essentially the meaning is between the fundamental value as well as like the redemption value, and how anyone essentially as an LP should essentially read it, right? Because whenever they are looking to withdraw, they at the moment, right, and pools are imbalanced, they're currently seeing like a difference between essentially what they deposited in and what they can essentially like return right now. So in a sense, right, like what would you essentially recommend to essentially you know, recommend for LPs whenever they are LPing and they see this type of stuff, to essentially provide them with like a little bit more insight that would essentially help them as well calculate better what they should essentially do, or if they should wait, or if they should do like something else within essentially their position, right?
Right. Oh yeah, I actually shared the screen so that we see what's happening. So we have this analytics page, yes, and well, we have this fundamental value, and we can switch to redemption value. And for redemption value for, let's say, for WBTC and CBBTC, it's having kind of drawdown here, or how we call it, TRD, temporary redemption discount. So what is that? You can notice that CBBTC pool is almost ideally balanced, very close to 50-50, 50% CBBTC, 50% USD. And WBTC and TBTC is like more like 30-70, something like that. So, and that's essentially what causes this. So when pool is balanced, then, well, maybe I can just click on this one. When pool is balanced, then what users can redeem goes to this dashed line like this. For what users can redeem is solid line, but dashed line is what they could have redeemed if the pool was balanced, right? So that when the pool balances, then what they actually redeem is equal to what they could have redeemed when it's balanced. But when pool is imbalanced, then they can redeem actually less. And that's, well, how to call this, why is this happening? It's more or less this. We leverage LP position, right? We leverage LP position, and LP position is concentrated liquidity. So it is ought to have impermanent loss. Yes, that impermanent loss. But when everything is balanced, then impermanent loss is 0. But when it's disbalanced, then it's not 0. So we have this, and we have impermanent loss with a leverage of 2, essentially. But the good thing, unlike pools like Uniswap 3, these pools rebalance themselves. And when they do, then this loss disappears. That's how we fight impermanent loss, essentially, right? So combination of leverage and pool rebalancing removes impermanent loss. But when pool is not yet rebalanced, you have this gap, right? So
right.
if pool, yep.
Oh yeah, so essentially what will happen is as essentially the pools are imbalanced, right, and it rebalances, during the rebalancing processes, it essentially makes some fees, right? And that essentially goes back into the pool as like withdrawable.
Yes, right. But rebalancing is not like, well, it's not like that it's making fees when it's rebalanced. No, it's not that. It's actually the composition of the pool, right? So it's not that it lost funds and earned funds. It never lost anything. It's just the discount because we are on bonding curve, well, on bonding curve with leverage, essentially, and it's impermanent. It's like it's a little bit like impermanent loss. Impermanent loss is not a loss, right? But it is a loss if you realize that. So we are moving it towards no impermanent loss, so that you can realize the actual good, well, good redemption rate. But redemption rate can go like if pool goes out of peg, redemption rate goes like below this fundamental value. But this gap is not a loss. So it's not a loss, and it closes not by earning. It closes by pool balancing out.
Okay, no, that's pretty clear. I think that one of the things that like someone else was asking as well is that with like essentially the chart that we're seeing, right? CBBTC pools are like showing like quite a bit of like daily volumes, but the fundamental value is essentially increasing well, not as fast as essentially you would expect with essentially the amount of volume that it is getting.
Oh yes,
over the last few days.
That's because we always spend this money on rebalancing, and well, if we just counted fees, it would go up much faster. But we always spend something on rebalancing the pool, and that's kind of negative. So we earn something positive and we have something negative, and overall it's still growth, but slower growth. And maybe you can see this drop in WBTC fundamental value. That's when pool spent something like a lot at once on rebalances. So, and when you have that, then fundamental value goes down. So maybe redemption value goes up, but fundamental value goes down. And after it rebalanced, it starts earning fast, and it actually earned fundamental value pretty quickly back. But nevertheless, when pool rebalances, it actually loses value because it spends something. And maybe, I don't know if it's on the graph yet. Oh yeah, I see the redemption value going up because pool rebalanced, but I still don't see the fundamental value going down. Oh, maybe in WBTC pool it's not the case. Maybe in TBTC. Yeah, there we go. See, in TBTC, we've got a really big reserve collected to be used for rebalance. Over all this time, we were able to withdraw this reserve, but just now, this reserve was spent on rebalancing, and you see that fundamental value dropped. So redemption value increased because we got closer to the peg essentially, but fundamental value dropped. And well, this is like a real loss in a sense, but it's an expense. We just over all this time, the LPs could withdraw their position and not spend this expense on rebalancing, but now they just spent it. And I guess the dynamics after this will be similar to what happened in WBTC pool. Like you see this little drop in the dashed line, which was earned back. So we're about to see the same thing with TBTC pool over here. And it's very well predictable, actually. So yeah, that's an interesting one. We just had it happen just right before the stream. So it's a nice one to see.
Yeah, we happen to have like a channel where essentially all of the transactions are essentially being broadcasted towards. So just before the stream, we just had like a couple of these transactions coming in. So that was pretty fun to see. But yeah, something as well that like someone was asking as well was if we by chance had like any rough formula or way for essentially for LPs to estimate how much essentially volume is needed for essentially a pool to fully rebalance.
Right. Yeah. For volume, or like for how much it needs to earn, it's possible to calculate. But also, what it needs to spend, it goes down with pool getting closer to the with the price going closer to the old peg of the pool. So let's say the price goes, let's say, was going down, right? And the pool was following the price, but at some point, the price went down too fast, so it couldn't follow the price. Now, when the price is away from the peg price, then it costs some money to move this peg. And this cost, I don't actually know exactly, but looks like this cost is proportional to to the price difference squared or something. So it's like going up really quickly as the price goes away from peg. But when the price comes closer, then it also drops very quickly, and the reserves we collected become enough to make a jump. So that's what's happening. And just before the stream. TBTC pool accumulated $500,000 of profits, and it just spent it on this one jump. But if price goes closer, these jumps become cheaper and cheaper. And for example, in CBBTC pool, the jumps are very small, but they are also very cheap. So it's like few $1,000s every jump.
And yeah, I mean, like one of the things as well, like outside of like volumes as well for rebalancing, right, is so far we have seen quite a bit of like transactions where a lot of arbitrageurs are coming in and essentially doing a lot of like atomic arbitrages between different DEXs. But have you actually seen any arbitrages taking place between a DEX and a CEX?
Oh, that's a good question.
Since this time.
I suspect this is what is going on with CBBTC, but I'm not sure, because a lot of arbitrage traders who swap with centralized exchanges, they use exchange aggregators. So they swap on cow swap, orders, whatever, in automated manner, and they don't care where it swaps. If it swaps in YieldBasis, great, but it can swap somewhere else. Maybe there are more sophisticated players who make their special smart contracts which choose the optimal route, but really many arbitrage traders use just off-the-shelf exchange aggregators, and we cannot even say, like, was it arbitrage trader who did it, or was it something else? Because it could be like a safe wallet, but it's not just safe of someone. It could be a safe of arbitrage trader. So maybe arbitrage trader bought something on in YieldBasis pool and sold something on a centralized exchange at the same time, and then they synchronize only once in a while. So it's not easy to tell that it's this kind of arbitrage. But I suspect that some of these are happening.
And yeah, I hope that actually like any of the arbitrages that are using it are also actually using the Flash loans that we also enable as well for CRVUSD, right? Because like I saw as well, right, like how you mentioned as well that the fees for those are actually like set at 0%. And we had like a very good question from Joey as well, from Pangea, and he was like wondering why aren't like more arbitrageurs using this approach to essentially arbit and then have like essentially less strain and pressure on the CRVUSD pools.
Yeah, I mean, using Flash loans is of course great, and it's if it's not enough for anyone, then we can on Curve there can be a vote to expand this Flash loan size at any time. It's only set to 1 million because who knows, maybe there is some attack we don't know, so maybe we need to limit this size of Flash loan. Like, there is a like the best way to break everything is to make an infinitely Flash mintable stablecoin, right? So it can break many things, and it's universally accepted that it's probably not a great idea to have that.
Right. But, yeah. Many cases where Flash loans were a great tool essentially to exploit some protocols with.
Yeah. I mean, even with Balancer, it's essentially internally they swap numbers and settle afterwards, and these numbers can do internally something similar to infinite Flash loans. Essentially, that's how I understand it, at least. And so they allow to use infinite Flash loans towards themselves, and I think that's what not what the hack of Balancer was using, but the white hat attack, which was performed. I think that was using this kind of feature where you can swap huge, I don't know, more ethers than there are in existence if you can pay after multiple swaps. So yeah, so it's kind of dangerous, but that's kind of that's why we're on curve. The size of flash loans is kept kind of not very large. So maybe it will grow with the demand growing.
That's fair. Then speaking actually on curve, right? Because like we have been spending now quite already some time on essentially like the mechanism, what happened essentially with LPs, what they essentially experienced as well over the last few weeks, essentially with like the heightened volatility that we have seen. But one of the things as well that we essentially what you essentially also like proposed in a new proposal to increase the line of credit for YieldBasis from 300 million to 1 billion was essentially some comments from Llama Risk and from Pangea, and both of them were essentially on like the CRVUSD peg. And I think that would be something as well that quite some people would be interested to know a little bit more about on essentially CRVUSD peg and how that is actually like quite important as well to also help scale YieldBasis as well. Because like one of the things that they well haven't really conclusively found out but saw some correlation with was that the CRVUSD peg was a lot more volatile since essentially the YieldBasis launched.
Yeah. Well, actually, CRVUSD peg was not as volatile as you might think, right? Well, I mean, I can quickly show actually, but it's a good concern, but it's not as volatile. So if we go to like curve, right, and if we go to, I don't know, to some pool with oh my god, not on Ethereum, of course, and if we go to some pool with CurveUSD, yeah, if we like, I don't know, CurveUSD, USDT, right? Right, so if we go to this one, it has a chart. And we go to, I don't know, this chart, CurveUSD to USDT. Well, it's kind of not a good time frame because we need to probably zoom out. CurveUSD is quite old. Oh yeah, there we go. So you see that there were like significant peg fluctuations over, I don't know, before the end of 2024, and then everything went on peg, and you cannot even guess where exactly YieldBasis started affecting it because it's super stable. So it actually is stable. It was somewhat unstable before CurveUSD got savings CurveUSD. So some supply sink, which pays out revenues from CurveUSD if they happen. Well, I mean, they always happen, but it's you have some sort of APR in savings CurveUSD, and if people borrow a lot and it creates a lot of downwards pressure, then savings CurveUSD rate goes up and people start buying CurveUSD to put it into savings, and that stabilizes CurveUSD. So, and once it was launched, CurveUSD is rock stable. Maybe you can see that on CoinGecko, for example, the volatility of CurveUSD increased, but that's because of how CoinGecko measures price of CurveUSD. Well, maybe it's possible to see really, I don't know, like maybe it's possible to see, like to zoom out, to zoom in, right, by vertically. Let's see. Well, I cannot really say that you can see a great effect of YieldBasis at all, right? So, but anyway, there is one thing yield basis really affects on CRVUSD, and this is the borrow rate, because the pressure on the peg is indeed created, and the CRVUSD system deals with this pressure to stabilize CRVUSD successfully. But as a result, borrow rate on CRVUSD, like, I don't know, let's say against WBTC, right? Is there? Takes a long time. Yeah, the borrow rate is apparently becomes very volatile. Yeah, there we go. So here you can see that borrow rate starts jumping around. And this is what Llama Risk also pointed out, and this is what we need to deal with. So it's possible to re-parameterize the borrow rate so that it's not jumping that much, so that amplitude is less, or we can change monetary policy in such a way that it averages it out, so it's more like orange line, like the blue line here, right? So that's, I think, about well, what it is about stability of CRVUSD system. But anyway, so why is the pressure exerted on the peg anyway? If the pools are balanced like CBBTC, then the pressure on the peg is essentially zero, because the loan size is equal to the amount of CRVUSD you have in the pool. But if pool is unbalanced, then the loan size is, like, I don't know, half the pool, but CRVUSD in the pool is smaller, so there is a downwards pressure. Or if it's the other way around, then it would be upwards pressure. So volatility induces peg fluctuations. And like, the more pools go unbalanced, the more it creates a pressure on the pool. And that's exactly where the pools with CRVUSD should, like, what pools with CRVUSD should absorb, the stablecoin pools. And that is why there is a fraction of inflation, like 20% of all YB inflation is going to towards like bribes, towards buying votes for stablecoin CRVUSD pools to make them really thick. And right now, the size of CRVUSD pools is totally adequate to the current TVL in yield basis. Maybe it's even a little bit more than needed. So that's good. It's good to have a little bit more room. But if we want to grow the caps, then we need bigger pools. And for bigger pools, you need more incentives for them. So how do we get more incentives? Well, I guess the answer is that we need really to have the whole economics of yield basis finalized, like connected. So we need to have revenue streams connected to the EYB. Currently, they are not, so YB is just having a speculative value. But when they are connected, then we have some some fundamentals, and I think that can that can positively affect what CRVUSD pools are getting, and but yeah. Getting revenues which are coming into the yield basis system, getting them connected to actual VEYB token, like people who lock YB token. That's very, very important. I think that should be done before significantly growing the caps.
So that is also like a question as well, right? That a lot of people have been asking about as well, is when fee switch, and when can we essentially, right, like increase the pools?
I would say well, you can follow on GitHub. I think pretty much finished. I looked with a fresh eye and just to find anything, and found an interesting thing which I also fixed. So, well, fee distributor is pretty much finished. It's actually fairly simple, and what we need to do is to turn it on, but we also want to distribute those bags of overcharged admin fees to those who kind of lost it to admin fees. So admin fees should return them back. So that is also something to do. But what admin fees fairly earned, that should go to fee distribution, and that I think should be happening well, more or less simultaneously, because I think it's important that we don't turn fee distribution before those bags of overcharge fees are returned, but also fee distribution is pretty much ready, so why not turn it on when we can? So yeah.
So how will fees actually be distributed? So will they be distributed in the same sense that if people, for example, deposit it into CBBTC, they will receive back CBBTC, or will it be a mix between the different wrappers?
Who received receives the fees? The fees are received by the EYB token holders. It doesn't matter what. Well,
Oh, no, no, I'm talking about like the overcharged admin fees.
Overcharge. Yeah, overcharge is interesting because it was withdrawn from the pools in as the wrappers like WBTC, CBBTC, TBTC. So that will go as CBBTC, WBTC, and TBTC, not as LPs in the pool. So that's kind of a special thing, right?
Yeah, so each person, so for example, if they deposit it into CBBTC, they will receive essentially CBBTC back.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then yeah, I think that some other people as well, they were wondering because like you said that you wanted to essentially incrementally increase the CRVUSD line of
Yeah.
credit, right, by 50
Yes.
million each. What is like essentially contingent for each for each essentially incremental increase to happen?
Yeah, I just think it's liquidity in curve pools and how overall yield basis affects stability of CRVUSD. Well, you can actually see how it affects stability before any instability is appearing, right? So you can measure indirect measurement of this peg pressure is borrow rate of CRVUSD, but you can also have other measurements like how much is sitting in peg keepers, right? Or if what is sitting in peg keepers is 0, then how disbalanced are pools with CRVUSD, and you can sense any peg deviations before they are actually seen, and we have a lot of good historical data now with pretty extreme price action and extreme imbalances of the pool, and well, it was okay for the system, it looks like. So probably we need to estimate like what should the pool size be, and after the fee switch is on, see what the pool sizes on curve are doing, and increase the credit line. Well, probably credit line can be received actually before that, right? And we can, on YieldBasis side, we can increase what the pools are actually getting and how the caps grow.
Yeah, no, that's pretty clear. And I think that like one other question as well, which we kind of like almost covered, was essentially now that we've talked about like where the compensation will be distributed as, how will it essentially work for veYB tokens, right? So what will veYB tokens be receiving essentially if the fee distribution mechanism is implemented? So will that be all in like the different types of wrappers, or will it be in like something?
Right. So it will be, at least right now, it will be in terms of deposits in YB pools. So when you receive the fees, you actually have deposits in YB pools appearing in your wallet, right? In all three. So if well, it's not like picking one, because if you pick one, then you could well, you could make it feel bad for for other wrappers if you choose one wrapper. So it's probably not good to do. And also swapping to one coin is kind of, well, kind of complicated, and they just wanted to implement fee distribution earlier. We can change it afterwards. We can change it to, let's say, receive everything in CRVUSD, but it's like Bitcoin maximalism here. So, and why to receive in dollars, right? Anyway,
Right.
so probably a good compromise is to receive in all of them, and maybe later on, if number of pools goes too large, we probably should receive in one thing, but not at the moment. So at the moment, it's better to receive in all of them as they are earned. And another feature is this: earnings are not necessarily uniform all the time. So how it will work? When the fees are earned, they are added towards the next 4 weeks of the distribution. So if some fees are earned, they will be distributed over the next 4 weeks. So if, let's say, during this week we are earning something, then it's spread over the next 4 weeks. Then when the new week comes, if we have something earned in the new week, then it's getting distributed towards the following 4 weeks after that week. So the 3 weeks we already got filled, and some the new week. So it's kind of smooth in this way, and that is because if right now volatility is high, so pools are eating well. But what if volatility stops for a little bit, like, I don't know, for a month, right? And then we will have very small weeks sometimes, or like 0, and sometimes it's a lot. So it's good to smoothen it out, and I think having this 4-week window is a good one.
That's pretty fair. I think that like one of the things that someone was also like suggesting was, why not essentially give the option or create something where the admin fees can essentially be turned to CRVUSD whenever CRVUSD peg would be essentially down. In a sense, it would essentially buy back CRVUSD whenever it was below peg to help essentially with the peg.
Yeah, well, I mean, if people are willing to return to receive CRVUSD, it's, I mean, great. But yeah, it's a little bit of dev work, of course. And I didn't really hear people willing to receive USD. They want, I don't know, they want Bitcoins.
the strongest asset, the strongest digital asset.
Right.
That's why we are all here in for.
Right. Yeah.
Then yeah, let's see if there are like some questions actually from
Yeah, there were a few questions in the chat, so you can, I mean, even in this chat, so you can check.
Yeah. So yeah, would be curious how tokenized physical gold will eventually be able to interact with YB.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, in principle, it can. The problem with tokenized physical gold is arbitrage. It's if it's only physical, then arbitrage is extremely clunky, and you get spreads like 1 or 2%, which is too big for gold, really. If gold is directly connected to trading markets, how they call it, LBMA compliant gold, maybe, right? So then it's actually better, I guess, for arbitrage. I don't know what the spreads will be, so it needs checking. But really, if we have small spreads, we can plug it into simulations and see if that can be turned into yield-bearing gold or not. But it totally can be. It's just the matter of how well arbitrage works, I think. And but I think if it's just physical gold, which is not connected to trading, then it's going to be complicated. So I think it should be something which is connected to trading, to real world trading markets. Of course, in future, all the gold trading moves on chain and it will be easier, but we are not there yet.
there's already quite I believe there are already some markets happening on perp dexes. The people are essentially already doing that with commodities and also with stuff like stocks and
You know,
even
on perp dexes, it's not exactly that. It's like imaginary gold, right?
yes.
Yeah, imaginary gold is not that thing. So you can draw anything. Why? Well, like why wouldn't you draw yield-bearing gold on perp dexes? Of course, who would short it? But nevertheless.
Then we also have like a Tiger Fox 7600. What is our plan on YB side while Curve is adjusting the monetary policy? As Llama Risk recommended 8 weeks
Wow.
plus time frame.
Yeah. Llama Risk does very good research on what monetary policies should do. They saw these fluctuations of borrow rate, and they thought it's probably good to do something. And well, I guess they are onto something, but I think it will be needed to change the monetary policy to apply additional smoothening to these fluctuations. So anyway, it's good. Monetary policies are actually possible to replace, even like the code of monetary policies. So that's fine.
And yeah, I'd love to essentially also know like if there are any like ideas for smoothing out the user experience during imbalance periods. Or is this just something that like users should essentially need to understand and accept?
Right. They, of course, need to understand. But as I said, we probably want to make these drawdowns smaller by working with wrappers or by reconfiguring the pools if that doesn't help. So we can do that. But essentially, what CBBTC pool does is pretty much close to what simulations do. Actually, CBBTC pool did better than simulations, probably because few liquidations went through the pool. That's why. But anyway, if we don't want users to experience any drawdowns, then what we probably need to do is to introduce YBBTCs as collateral on lending platforms. If we do that, then one people could loop between YBBTC and Bitcoin wrappers like WBTC or CBBTC, and so they would earn YB profits with leverage. At the same time, some other people could lend them Bitcoins, and they would receive essentially lending rate, right? So loopers will pay to those who lend them out Bitcoins, and those who lend them out Bitcoins will not experience any drawdowns, but their APR will be smaller than APR on YB. So that's essentially, that would be the choice. You can like have value going up only, always, and never going down by even a little bit, but you get less APR. I think fair.
I think that's something as well, right? Like that's super interesting as well to explore. But one of the issues, obviously, is that for such a strategy to essentially be able to be executed, you need to also be able to have like essentially room within the pools for people to also like deposit as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's essentially like the biggest bottleneck that we that are currently seeing and that we're currently facing is that like we're taking things step by step, right? And looking out for any anomalies that are taking place. But yeah, essentially that's the only thing essentially that it's like the biggest bottleneck for us is scaling up essentially responsibly.
Which is, yeah, and I think we have a good plan for that. So we probably just should follow this plan and see what happens.
Exactly. And then there's always there's also like another protocol as well that could be like a very cool integration, which is Pendle, where essentially, yeah, as a user, you could bet essentially on like the volatility that is essentially taking place. buy essentially, if you expect that the volatility goes up, you buy more YT tokens in a sense, and that way you go like leverage long on like VIX BTC. That is also like something as well that that's pretty cool. So yeah, hopefully that's will be coming maybe soon. And then outside of that, what are like some other near-term roadmaps and expectations for the next month? Because like we are now halfway, well over halfway through like Q4. So it's almost end of the year. What is something to expect still before the end of the year? Will we be able to scale to like 1 billion in line of credit before that time? And yeah, what's actually to expect for next year even?
Yeah, well, I think at least, well, it's probably good to create a vote to receive the credit line, but we probably wouldn't utilize all the credit line. By the end of the year, we should have fee distribution on pretty much shortly, definitely before the end of the year. We should have all the users who had been overcharged by admin fee to receive it back, definitely before the end of the year. And yeah, and I think we should start a little bit scaling up, and we'll see how quickly it goes. But start of the scaling up should also be before the end of the year. I think that. But of course, the caps should still be will still be relatively, well, probably larger than now, but relatively small compared to what they will be eventually by the end of the year. But yeah.
And I think that like someone, Joey, from Pangea, he has also been asking for if we have any fresh simulations for ETH as the asset. So
Not
cool.
yet, not yet. I didn't still have time to do simulations for ETH. And yeah, it's a good question whether we want to use the current version of Curve crypto pools, or do we want some newer version where, well, there are a few things which can be a little bit improved to make them earn a little bit more when price moves very quickly, right? So there are a few improvements which can be made. Like dynamic fee can be tweaked a little bit, and also the way how pool rebalances can be changed a little bit so that it doesn't do these huge jumps, but changes by a little bit every time. So that's probably better, because then you don't lose some of the value to arbitrage traders. When arbitrage traders earn less, maybe you earn more. And I mean, it's a good question whether we want to get a new version of the pools with these improvements, or we should launch before then. But it's well, we need to see when the improvements can be made for that. If the wait is too long, then probably might as well launch the ETH pool. But also good to simulate, of course.
Any preference over if it would be like naked ETH or if it is a staked version of ETH?
Yeah, well, I think still staked version. I mean, naked ETH is of course better arbitraged, I guess, but wrapped ETH has like very, very good liquidity on chain, so maybe that will be enough to deal with it. But yeah, I mean, additional spread from using staked ETH, because liquidity is good, would be like, I don't know, 1 bips maybe. So 1 bips is small, and I think you lose less APR than you earn from staking here. So maybe it makes sense to do staked ETH.
Yeah, and you have the benefit as well, yeah, of the staking rewards as well, which is great as well. Oh, and then so I think that like that was essentially most of the stuff that people really wanted to have covered, right? Because like we went through like the most important things, which was essentially well, the questions that people had about like providing liquidity, what they saw when essentially there was a difference between like fundamental value and their well, withdrawable value when they LP'd. Covered some stuff about like CRVUSD, how we scale. Also covered some stuff about arbitrage, about how that essentially works. So yeah, hope that this was quite informative for anyone that was listening into this. The stream will be essentially made available as well on YouTube. So for anyone to essentially watch this stream back. But yeah, if there's any other questions, right, like Michael, myself, and we've got like some really nice people as well from like Curve community as well that are like jumping in, asking some well, answering some good questions as well. So feel free, to yeah, ask any type of questions that you have for us. We are more than happy to like answer any of them. I think yeah.
All right.
All right.
Okay, I guess, yeah, if that's everything, then indeed, just ask anything in the chat and yeah, stay in touch with us.